Blockchain technology is not only complicated, it's also not very easy to find a business case which fits to this technology. Over the past years, blockchain was considered as a technology which could help replacing and revolutionizing any business model on Earth. Yeah? But today we have sobered down a little bit. It's obvious that the technology is not really applicable everywhere. On the contrary, it's applicable maybe only to 1% of all business cases, to a very short fraction of that. And it's very difficult to find out what is the area where blockchain makes sense, what is the typical process where we can apply this technology. And this is what I'm going to talk about today. And as a starter, and I use this slide usually in presentations to sober down the audience a little bit, to reduce their expectation on what can be done with blockchain, let's have a look at all the IT projects that a company does in a year. Yeah, this is IT project land, yeah. All projects, yeah. Upgrading SAP from version X to version X.1, integrating with a new organization that has been absorbed, that has been acquired. And a part of this is purely local, yeah. Local projects which are internally to the organization. And others are B2B integration. Yeah? We integrate with our suppliers, we integrate with our customers, we integrate with market partners, we integrate with whomever. And this is exchanging data, this is using a third-party platform for data exchange or for being part of an overarching B2B process, whatever. In this area, only in this area, blockchain makes sense. Yeah? When organizations need to be integrated and need to take part in a process. It might also be internally within the organization, but then you have sub-organizations which need to be coordinated. Yeah? This is equal, more or less, from a technical perspective, to integrating organizations which participate in a market or deal with each other. And out of these processes, there are some which are direct communication, which is end-to-end communication between a sender and a receiver who exchange data. Think of ordering goods from a supplier. This is a message which goes there. It's created by the customer. It's processed and received and processed by the supplier. It might be encrypted and it might be authenticated, so electronically signed, whatever. This is a point-to-point, end-to-end data communication. Quite easy. Other patterns of data communications are one-to-N or broadcast processes, or even atomic broadcast processes, where one sends data and everyone should be able to read that. So data is published such that other participants can receive this information. And this is exactly where blockchain applies. If you think of Bitcoin, a transaction is sent by my wallet. If I want to pay a beer in the bar, it's sent to the nodes, it's distributed across the network of nodes, and everyone can read this transaction. It's published into the Bitcoin blockchain. And even those who don't participate in Bitcoin can use a block explorer and see my transaction. Yeah? So one-to-N communication. I'm the sender, and all who participate are receivers. And then comes the question, how is this organized, the one-to-N process? It could be organized by a third party. Think of an exchange, think of Uber or Airbnb. If I send a message to this party, like an order or an offer, think of Uber, yeah, I'm a private driver, and I want to share my location, this is what I intend that everyone can read this, but it's tunneled through Uber, and it's organized by Uber as a process. Yeah? So this is a one-to-N communication, but we have a trusted third party. And this trusted third party is used, and usually such a third party charges a fee for this. Yeah? Be it Uber, be it an exchange, be it Airbnb, or any other who organizes such a process. Everything fine. It makes sense if we have a trusted third party. and if this trusted third party doesn't exploit its third party role. Yeah? But if you look, for example, at exchanges like CME, the profit margin of CME is around about 50%. And it's still okay. I mean, if we trade goods which have a certain value and pay a small share of the value of the good as a transaction cost, as external transaction cost to that exchange, and half of that transaction cost is the third party's profit, might be okay. But there might be other situations where market participants perceive the transaction fee as high, and in such a situation they may think, maybe it could be lower, maybe it could be 50% lower, or maybe we can consider if it can be even driven down far more than 50% by applying a different technology instead of having a third party. So most cases of external communication where we have a one-to-end pattern are supported by third parties, and everyone is happy about that. Yeah? In that case, we don't need to consider this any further if blockchain can help out here. But if there's an issue with the third party, or specifically if it is not trusted, we are in this little box here. Yeah? So there is no third party which can be trusted, or it is too expensive. And in that specific case, we can further break it down into these sub-boxes here. Here, we still mutually trust each other as market participants, yeah? Which means that maybe there's not a third party who organizes the process, but it could be one out of us. It could be from the 3 participants A, B, C, it could be just B running the service on behalf of everyone and doing the coordination for everyone. This makes sense for processes which are uncritical from a commercial perspective, yeah? But if we think of market data, yeah, think of offers and trade data where secrets are shared between the 2 parties who trade with each other, like the price, the product, the quantity, whatever, when it is delivered, then it doesn't make sense that a competitor runs such a platform, yeah, if that third party has access to the data. And that's the assumption if we talk about a third party. So if that doesn't make sense, that the third party operates that, we are in this little box here. And that little box is the blockchain area. Yeah? It's the blockchain city, if you like. If we call this the project land, then this few square centimeters there, this little 1% of the overall area is possibly where blockchain makes sense. You can imagine that there are not so many processes which perfectly fit to the blockchain technology. And that's actually what I want to the statement I usually make at the beginning. Don't expect too much from blockchain technology. It is like being a truffle pick and searching for truffles. Yeah? It's a rare situation that you find a good truffle, which is a useful process. So again, from a different angle, we can ask some filter questions, and if these filter questions are answered positively, and if we have, out of these 8 questions, if we have 6 or 7 or even 8 answers yes, then it's a good case. Then we should dig deeper. Yeah? We are not yet there then, because there are governance issues to be clarified. It's a question how the project is financed, and the initiative may fail because of the governance of a governance issue or a financing issue. But at least as far as the process is concerned itself, it's very likely that if we have 8 yes answers here, that this is a blockchain case. And if we look at that one-to-one communication, I mentioned that already. High availability at reduced cost. I mentioned that already in another video. That is also specific to blockchain. We have 100% availability, but the nodes of the blockchain don't require a high-end compute center and also not a high-end database, but just cheap virtual machines which are used from the usual cloud operators like Amazon, Microsoft, and others. So, and the cost of operation of such a blockchain is maybe 20 euro per virtual machine. So we are talking about at most a few thousand euros a year for the whole sector as far as the technical operation is concerned. Disintermediation, is there a third party which is made obsolete? And we are not talking here about technical reduction of fees. We are talking about completely replacing the organization. And if the third party, for example, has highly specialized staff that is made obsolete, that would be a strong cost reduction. Yeah? And that is exactly where the blockchain case applies. If we additionally introduce a token currency in order to represent value and to do instantaneous settlement over the blockchain, so to immediately pay as a transaction takes place, that is another good incentive or feature of a process which is blockchain compatible. And also allow minimal transaction volumes, specifically transaction cost or transaction cost. It's not fees because there's another third party who may charge a fee. It's the overall cost which is shared by the consortium. And here again, it's not driving down the transaction cost to cents or fractions of cents. It is avoiding a third party and replacing that by a technical process. So the organizational transaction cost, of course, is far higher than just the technical operation of a blockchain. And then directly link people to people, or assets to assets, or in the Internet of Things, things to things. But what do I mean with people to people? Yeah? It's not the case that everyone should have a blockchain node in his pocket on his smartphone. But if you think of cryptocurrencies, and this applies specifically to cryptocurrencies, you can pay anyone out there in the world at quite low transaction cost. Yeah? I can do a project as a private person, a website, and have that developed by another one in India. And it cost me a few €100 to have this developed. But if I pay this, the transaction cost is quite high, and the duration of the payment transaction is also quite long. It takes days until the guy in India is really paid, and it may take a couple of percent of transaction cost if I do such a payment of a couple of hundred of euros. If I do that using Bitcoin, it would be much easier, much faster. Yeah? That's a classical way of linking people to people. Trustlessness, that's a clumsy term. It just means not needing a trusted third party, actually. Yeah? So trustless means we don't trust organizations, we don't specifically trust third parties, we don't need to trust them anymore. Instead, we trust in the technology of the blockchain and of the deployed nodes that they do their job in the correct way. And even if they are corrupted by a cyber attacker or by an administrator who makes a mistake, the system should still work and it should not behave in a malicious way. Yeah? This is trustlessness. And this is a requirement if we want to use blockchain, or if we want to disintermediate a third role. And standardization effect, this is always neglected. If you think of a consortium who intends to specify a data communication process, and where invoice data is exchanged, or order data, or stock information between the different participants, it's a hard endeavor because you need to standardize everything. So the data format, the communication protocol, and the process itself. And then everyone needs to implement that in a correct way. If we have a one-to-one communication, and if everyone exchanges data with others within the consortium, and everyone has exactly to stick to what has been defined in the standard. If that is not the case, if we have a deviation in the data format, a deviation in the process, or a deviation in the communication protocol, this would be sand in the it would just reduce the efficiency of the overall process of a smooth process. Yeah, and if too many don't adhere to the standard, the process would be such inefficient that it just doesn't make sense to get connected to be part of that. And that happens quite often. However, if we use the blockchain, we can build into the blockchain the validation of the data exchanged, And we can also build into the blockchain a certain knowledge about the application level process, such that the blockchain, as a sphere between the participants, keeps track of the status of a process, for example, using a smart contract or using code, which is chain code, which is deployed into the blockchain. And that code can validate the data if it is correct, the data exchanged. It can keep track of the business process itself and can reject a message if it is not the right point in time or the right process step where this message is expected. And it can just define an API which is used by all the participants in order to allow participants to be part of the process. So the blockchain helps to establish a standardized process, and it also helps to ensure that participants use the right data content and the right protocol to communicate, and it can reject data which is sent at the wrong time. So all that together, some are overlapping, some are depending on each other, but if we use that as a filter, and if we have 8 yes or 7 yes answers here, then it's quite interesting. Yeah? And to give some examples, decentralized trading is an example. Yeah? We would make obsolete the third party, which would be a broker role or an exchange role. The blockchain is used as a communication measure to exchange order data, for example, and also to exchange execution data. If a trade is executed, everyone else will also be informed. This is also one-to-end communication. And we just route this information through the network of the blockchain. We don't need a third party for that. Enerchain is a classical example for that, and there's a separate video on Enerchain which explains how decentralized trading is really implemented in case of that project. Other examples are patents, for example. Yeah? So today it's a very clumsy and expensive process if you want to publish a patent. Yeah? If you have a great idea, you usually need a lawyer. You have different jurisdictions. You need to write down your patent, and it has to be published. There are a lot of legal entities involved in doing this publication, and also in verifying if this patent doesn't violate already existing patents, if it doesn't overlap, and also to check if later applications might interfere with what you have written. And of course, this can be simplified. Yeah? It would be a different process, it would be a different solution, it would be much more lightweight, but the simple solution is you just write down your idea, and it doesn't even need to be a patent. It could be just an idea, for example, for a movie, a treatment for a movie, or similar intellectual property assets. You write it down. You create a PDF document out of that, you create a hash value out of this PDF, and you just store it on the blockchain and say, I, Micheal Merz, have created this hash value on the 1st of December 2018. And 10 years later, you can still refer to that, and you can prove that it was you, because you can recreate this hash based on that PDF document using the same hash algorithm, and you can prove to the world that it was you who had this idea as the very first one. That is a lightweight patenting mechanism which would compete with the existing one, but which would make life much easier to prove to the public that exactly you had this idea on day one, and maybe another party had the idea 3 days later. So it would just help as an instrument to prove to others who had an idea. So where is now the business case to use blockchain technology based on these filter questions? And it's the mix, as I said already. Yeah? So it's not just disintermediating a third party, or it's not just one-to-end communication. It is taking this all together, and if we have 8 yes answers, it's good. Yeah? Then it's very likely that we have a blockchain business case. This was to find out if there's a business case. But getting to that business case, that is another endeavor. Yeah? How to find out if these questions apply and if we come to a yes when answering these questions. And if we look at the different ways how to develop a B2B process, there's the classical way to do this. And usually we have a business case. We start with a business case. And the business case is it makes sense to standardize the data exchange process for invoices within our sector. Yeah? And if we all together, all members of the sectors, come to the conclusion that it makes sense to do this, then we just write down a document, which is a standard document, which defines the data format and which defines the business process and all the roles and rules and constraints and what is needed to specify that. We implement that and we deploy that and run it, and then we are in the operation mode. And it doesn't even need to be this waterfall-like approach, as I described it. It could also be a more agile or iterative approach for implementation. The fact is, we start usually here and we end up here in time, in budget, and in quality, of course. Yeah? So that's the classical way. It's rather top-down. And if we look at the blockchain technology, it is a technology which sits here. And it is a very cryptic, not only in the cryptology way, but also a cryptic technology as far as understanding the technology is concerned. It's not really working if we come with our specification. We want to do a data exchange process, and now, in contrast to the past 10 years, let's use blockchain technology now to implement that. Yeah? That would be this way, but it just won't work. Yeah? Because most of these use cases, as we have seen on the first graphic with the project land and the few blockchain compatible processes, it would be just by chance that we have defined a process here which would really fit to the blockchain technology. And the blockchain technology as such is really so specific that it cannot really be tuned or applied in a flexible way that it is fit under this given specification. Yeah? It's rather the opposite way. Blockchain technology is here. It has certain features and certain values, and we just don't know what the process is to which it would fit. Yeah? We don't know the question to the answer, which is blockchain. We don't know the problem to which blockchain is the solution. And that makes it complicated. Yeah? So the question is, what is the business process up here, which might be a completely new business process, which would fit to this technology? And as I said, remember the graphic, the project land graphic. It's not only not easy, but it's also probably, in most cases, not possible to find a link between a given process and the blockchain technology. And usually people who think about it, they sit within an organization. Yeah? They are innovation managers within an organization. They are IT guys within an organization. They are functional guys sitting in an organizations. They are managers in the organizations. And if they think organizational, they think in terms of getting things done the hierarchical way within the organization. Yeah? But if you want to do a blockchain project, you need to leave your organization mentally. Yeah? You need to enter a helicopter and fly up 30,000 foot and have a look at your sector from above. And then you see your organizations and all the 200 other market participants or other related businesses which somehow have a stake in the potential process. And you need to have a look from above and see, maybe we can achieve an improvement if we find something which coordinates the whole sector in a more efficient way. Maybe not, but if you need this helicopter view on the situation, it's better if you are an economist than if you are a manager. Yeah? You need to achieve these overview on the sector in order to understand, is there anything that could be found which integrates the stakeholders in the sector? So that is the challenge here. And I usually call this the elevator ride. Yeah? So because you need the guys here who have an understanding of blockchain technology and who can tell the others up here what is possible and what is not possible and what is efficient and not so efficient. And you also need the guys here who are flexible and who can apply this to their business development exercise and who are creative enough also to vary this business process in one direction or the other. And then it happens that the guys down here have a great idea what could be done over the blockchain, but it turns out up here that this is not possible. So, for example, because it violates the data privacy legislation. Or the guys up here have an idea, oh, let's move our whole settlement process, our sector-wide settlement process on the blockchain. And then the guys here say, yeah, in principle this is possible, but think of the transaction rate and think of the data and think of the fact that the data is transparent to everyone. And if this is in certain periods, 300 transactions per second, it won't work with blockchain technology, with a classical blockchain technology. So these guys have ideas and they move forth and back, varying their business model, and it doesn't always hit where blockchain sits. And also the guys down here vary their technical consideration, what the blockchain could be used for, but they don't always hit a business process up here. Yeah, and that is the challenge. So many projects are done which start here, which end up in a nice showcase or in a proof of concept, but they don't really hit the business model. And many other projects start here, where people say, okay, let's do this and that process, but it's actually not a blockchain case. Yeah? So that is the challenge to bring this together and to bring the people together who cover the technical side and who cover the business development side and who interact with each other and understand each other and who are flexible enough to find a common whole as a solution. Yeah? That's the difficulty with blockchain.